Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a new podcast of ours, which we're going to call Fair Play. So we're going to take a look at some of the hot stories around Major League Baseball in a fair and balanced manner. But big story I thought of the weekend was Vladimir Guerrero making his Major League debut. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I should say. And he welcomed himself to the big leagues in a big way. Rogers Center was buzzing on Friday night in a way that hadn't been seen since the Blue Jays made the postseason 3 years ago. Yes, there was only 28,000 in attendance, but it felt like 48,000. And this is great for Canada, great for baseball, and great for sports. This is probably the most anticipated Major League debut since Steven Strasburg, or for baseball's son since Ken Griffey Jr. in '89. He walked into the stadium with his father's Montreal Expos jersey, reminding the nation of what Canadian baseball was in the day. Oh, and Vlad Jr. looked like a 10-year veteran and a perennial all-star at the plate, too, against the Oakland A's in his debut. He hit a missile of a ball in his second at-bat, only to be caught by left fielder Chad Pinder. His next at-bat ended with a fly ball on the warning track in the 6th inning. And then in the 9th inning, when it mattered the most, he hit a leadoff double to set up a walk-off home run by Brandon Drury. And didn't you just love the Gatorade shower that Vlad Jr. put on Drury after the home run? He was just a little boy just swinging a little bat on Friday night, just as he was when his daddy, soon to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, was playing the big time in Anaheim. The Blue Jays thought similarly. Pitcher Marcus Stroman believed, this is my favorite quote of the night, he is Major League Baseball's version of Zion Williamson. Sure, Jim Dolan would like a piece of the action right now, or if he had clue, with the Knicks. Major League Baseball has been lacking unique personality and swagger for years, and the sport is entering an age where there is so much young talent, either in the higher ranks of the farm systems across the league, or already in the major leagues. And Guerrero Jr. is on track to becoming one of the first named generations for years we'll talk about when it comes to this generation of talent. The Blue Jays are probably not going to contend for the playoffs this year, even though they are at 500 after their sweep of the A's because of the strength of the other teams in the division, like the Rays, the Yankees, and the Red Sox once they right ship. The Blue Jays have 2 players under the age of 21 on their roster. The team is going to get younger and more athletic. Guerrero is already the face of the franchise. There's no question about that. You can argue otherwise, but the biggest name in Toronto with the Blue Jays is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The team has reacted differently, sweeping the Oakland A's over the weekend, including an incredible rally on Sunday without Vladimir Jr. in the game, who was taken out for a pinch runner. Regardless, the city of Toronto is in a good spot. The Maple Leafs will contend for the Stanley Cup with Austin Matthews, John Tavares, and company for years to come. The Raptors are in the second round of the NBA playoffs with Kawhi Leonard showing up on Saturday against the Philadelphia 76ers, with Kyle Lowry and company taking on the world. The Mets and the Phillies encountered a scuffle in their series last week, where Jacob Rhame threw at Rhys Hoskins with the Phillies down to the final out on Tuesday night. And Jacob Rhame has had control issues most of his career, and I don't think that was intentional at all. That Jacob Rhame had every business to get that final out and send the Mets home with a victory. Sure, he got the final out after he walked Rhys Hoskins in that at bat, but Rhys Hoskins responds by taking a long home run trout after he took him deep the next night in a 6-0 victory. And look, I don't blame Rhys Hoskins for taking the home run shot. If he believes he was intentionally thrown at by Rame, whatever. But this is not to say that it was intentional. Sure, the Phillies bullpen hit at a couple of Mets players in Monday night's game. They just had control issues as well. And that's one of the pains of April baseball, is that pitchers don't have their strike zones established at this time. That some of them do, some of them don't. But those that didn't are the ones that have been targeted so far. And look, this Mets-Phillies rivalry is going to be good for baseball, that you have two big cities right next to each other, the two biggest cities in the northeastern megalopolis, New York City and Philadelphia. Both teams are good again, with the Phillies getting Bryce Harper, Andrew McCutchen, Gene Segura, and much more. The Mets getting Robinson Cano, Wilson Ramos, Edwin Diaz. And the stars are lining up in part of a competitive National League East, with the Braves and their young talent, the Nationals and their young talent, the Phillies and Mets with their young talents coming out, the Mets with Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Michael Conforto. And the NL East rivalries are going to be good for baseball, and since these teams are going to be contending for years to come, with the Marlins still contending, this is a good sign for Major League Baseball. If there was a $204 million underdog, you would not have guessed it would be the New York Yankees, but the underdogs, the New York Yankees, with 13 players on the injured list so far, and they're showing up big time. They have taken 6 of the first 7 games from their road trip with the LA Angels, and a 3-game sweep of the San Francisco Giants, and the young guys are contributing like crazy. Luke Voigt is showing up. He's been hitting home runs left and right. Mike Tauchman hit his first home run recently. Mike Ford hit his first home run recently, and the only free agent import that is still on the team, DJ LeMahieu, came up with some big hits, and showing why he was a former National League batting champion with the Colorado Rockies, coming over from the Yankees. And look, you could say that Major League Baseball gave the Yankees an early schedule through the first 4.5 weeks. And sure, they lost 2 out of 3 at home to Baltimore and 2 out of 3 at home to the Detroit Tigers to open the season, but if this is what the Yankees are putting out, with Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Luis Severino all on the injured list, the Yankees are going to be a team to be reckoned with. And sure, I picked the Yankees as the team to beat in the American League East. I think they're going to finish with the best record in Major League Baseball when it's all said and done. But if this team is 16-11, and this is what they're putting out, you've got to be proving me wrong on a lot of these things with what the Yankees are putting out. And sure, the Yankees have 2 games on the road again, and they finish their West Coast road trip in Arizona tomorrow and Wednesday nights, and then they have a big 3-game series with the Minnesota Twins on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with the Twins having the fewest losses of any team in Major League Baseball, with Minnesota's offense showing up big time and as one of these real surprises of Major League Baseball. So if the Yankees continue their play as the schedule ramps up, the Yankees will continue to be in a good spot. Meanwhile, the Yankees' rivals are in an exact opposite spot, with Chris Sale losing his first 6, with his teams losing his first 6 starts of the year. Sale is 0-5 with an ERA around 7. And the Red Sox are near the bottom of a lot of pitching stats across baseball, and this is a shame for the Red Sox, that this team who won which won 108 games last year. So with a star-studded lineup with a terrific starting rotation and a lockdown closer, they don't have their lockdown closer anymore, who is still searching for a free agent contract. They are not getting much of pitching production other than perhaps David Price. And Eduardo Rodriguez isn't showing up. Sale isn't showing up. And their lineup has been in hibernation, as everything that possibly could have gone wrong for the Red Sox, even though they're all healthy, has gone wrong. The Red Sox will have to take care of business as the calendar turns to May. And if Chris Sale doesn't right ship soon, I think the Red Sox, with the Rays, the Twins, the Indians, and the Astros all playing well, and Seattle playing well, even though they got blown out the last couple of nights by the Rangers. If this team doesn't show up immediately, they're going to be a World Series hungover for the ages, and will not be going anywhere if their pitching doesn't show up. And it all begins with Chris Sale. One of the main storylines in the National League this year was going to be who would distinguish themselves in a competitive National League, and you can say there are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 teams that can say that they have a playoff caliber roster. But the two teams that have distinguished themselves the most so far have been the Los Angeles Dodgers and the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals, with fantastic hitting by Paul Goldschmidt, they're getting outstanding pitching. The bullpen has been very good so far, and the lineup is producing. Marcell Ozuna, Goldschmidt, as I mentioned before. Matt Carpenter, who is still yet to find his stride, he's had some signs of life. The Dodgers have been labeled as the favorites of the National League West, and I still believe they are the team to beat in the West, even though Colorado, Arizona, and San Diego and others have their points of reference as well. But the Dodgers, who's missed Clayton Kershaw for the first couple weeks, and look, Kershaw has been solid. I'll give you that, but it's been how the Dodgers have been handling a depleted rotation that is finally coming back together. Rich Hill came back yesterday, even though he wasn't pinpoint. He gave up 6 runs in 3 innings. But it's the Dodgers and our guy, Cody Bellinger. 427 average, 14 home runs, and it's not even the beginning of May yet. The Dodgers are in a great spot, and all these contributors, Corey Seager coming back from Tommy John surgery, Max Muncy has been very, very good. Chris Taylor hasn't been that fantastic, but Alex Verdugo, who replaced Yasiel Puig when he was traded over to Cincinnati, and you can look at everything across the board that pitching, bullpen. Kenley Jansen shut the door down, even though he was shaky after he got the Pirates down to their final out. And the Pirates were playing some good baseball up until last week, but a 4-game sweep at home against Arizona and then being swept by 3 games in LA. And look, Pittsburgh has its talents. I thought Pittsburgh was going to be one of the surprises, but give the Dodgers credit for taking care of business where business needs to be taken, and taking 3 out of 4 from the vaunted Brewers on last week, and winning where it needs to be due, taking care of Cincinnati where they need to be due, and it's looking very, very good. But as long as LA takes care of its road trip, taking on the woeful Giants, and then playing on the road again, this Dodgers team has a lot to be looking forward to in the days to come. And finally, our guy, first ballot Hall of Famer, Albert Pujols. Only 2 guys are ahead of Albert the Great. Albert Pujols. 1,997 career runs batted in, which is third on the all-time runs batted in list, only behind our guys Henry Aaron and Babe Ruth with the runs batted in category, although I should say he's fifth on that list behind Cap Anson and Alex Rodriguez. And Albert Pujols was such a great story coming up. He had 300 every year. He had 30 home runs every year, 100 RBIs every year he was with St. Louis. Although he was predictably going to cool down in his time with the Angels, his longevity has allowed him to get to a point where the Angels can be satisfied with the production Albert Pujols has given the team. And yes, even though he has endured a lot of injuries with the Angels and his limitations are present, Albert Pujols is could be one of the great first basemen in Major League Baseball history. That I could see his case. I don't see him getting to Lou Gehrig, although you can certainly compare him to Lou Gehrig in many retrospects as one of the greats to ever play that position. But Albert Pujols, 1,997 RBIs, 3 RBIs away from 2,000 RBIs. That is an accomplishment in and of itself. And that's going to do it for this edition of Fair Play. And I am John Flynn for this podcast, and we will see you back on the channel soon. Alright? Goodbye.